There is a sacred melody that never ceases, a divine song echoing through the corridors of time, untouched by circumstance, undefeated by delay. It is the song of one who knows, deep in the marrow of their being, that love cannot lie. It is the song of the soul awakened to its source. I will sing of the Lord's great love forever. These are not empty words, they are the blueprint of spiritual dominion. To sing of his love is not to merely repeat a phrase or hum a hymn. It is to declare, from the highest throne of consciousness, that what God has spoken concerning you is already done. Even when life appears barren, when prayers seem unanswered, when the throne feels empty and the promises seem forgotten, the soul that knows continues to sing, not because all is well outwardly, but because it is finished inwardly. Psalm 89 is not just a reading, it is a revelation. It begins in the certainty of covenant, yet dares to question the silence that follows. It exalts the faithfulness of God and wrestles with the mystery of delay. And yet, above all, it reveals a secret known only to those who walk by inner vision, that to sing of his love forever is to participate in the act of creation itself. You are not waiting for the love of God to show up, you are discovering that his love has never departed. You are not begging for promises to be kept, you are waking up to the reality that the promise is already alive in you. When you praise God from the silence, you are not just praising, you are prophesying. You are not just worshiping, you are aligning. You are not just singing, you are shaping. This is not a psalm of denial, it is a psalm of defiant faith. It is for the one who dares to declare light while still standing in the dark, for the one who will lift their voice when every reason says to stay silent, for the one who sees the fall of a crown and yet proclaims the rise of a kingdom. This psalm is for you, the dreamer who refuses to die, the believer who will not bow to evidence, the chosen one who sings not because all has arrived, but because all has already been decreed. And in your song, your declaration, your praise, your inner agreement, creation begins again. So today, we do not read Psalm 89 as mere poetry, we receive it as power. Let every word reawaken your authority. Let every verse reignite your trust. And above all, let the eternal song rise from your spirit. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever, because forever begins now. The eternal covenant begins within the imagination when the psalmist opens Psalm 89 with the words, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. He is not simply composing a beautiful lyric. He is declaring a truth that echoes through eternity, that the covenant of God is not an external contract sealed with paper and ink, but a spiritual reality established within consciousness itself. The throne that God promises to David, I will establish your line forever and make your throne firm through all generations, is not merely a reference to a dynasty of kings or a historical lineage. It is the deeper truth of the soul, the throne of your imagination, where divine power is exercised and divine promises are fulfilled. You have been told that God speaks from the heavens, that his decrees are far off and his actions mysterious. But in truth, God's throne is within you. His covenant is with your inner being. The moment you become aware of this, your life is no longer a reaction to the outside world, but a projection of your inward certainty. The covenant is not something you hope will happen to you, it is something you awaken to. It is already written, already declared, already established. The only question is, will you believe it? The imagination is the temple of divine communication. When God said, I have made a covenant with my chosen one, he was speaking directly to the part of you that dares to believe in the unseen. The chosen one is not some figure in history. The chosen one is you when you accept that divine life expresses itself through your thoughts, your visions, and your inner agreement. Every time you imagine with faith, every time you see beyond appearance and live from a deeper truth, you are taking your rightful place on that throne. Psalm 89 is a spiritual map. It begins with praise but quickly unfolds into what looks like contradiction, trials, betrayal, loss. Yet through it all, the psalmist never lets go of the covenant. Why? Because the promise is not tied to conditions. The throne is not moved by storms. Even when the outer world collapses, the inner world remains untouched. This is the mystery of the covenant, that the world may shake, but the word remains. And the word has been planted in you. When you recognize that the throne of God is your own consciousness, you realize that the kingdom is not coming, it has already come. It is not visible with the eye, but it governs all things. The heart that sings of God's love forever is the heart that has understood this truth. To sing of his love is to say, I trust what I see within, even when I cannot see it without. This is faith, not begging. Not hoping, not striving, but knowing. You see, the covenant does not become true when your circumstances align. It is true now. Your part is not to earn it, but to enter into it. The promise of God is like an inheritance already written in your name. But unless you claim it by faith, you will live as a servant when you were born to rule. This is the tragedy of so many. They wait for God to move, never realizing he is waiting for them to awaken. Look again at Psalm 89. Notice how it speaks of the heavens declaring his wonders, not because the stars speak, but because creation reflects the imagination of its creator, and you, made in his image, also create by imagination. Every time you envision yourself healed, free, provided for, loved, and hold to that vision, you are stepping into covenant. You are sitting on the throne promised to David, and this throne is forever. But here is the challenge. The world will try to dethrone you. It will present evidence contrary to the promise. It will bring delay, disappointment, and even despair. But these are not signs that the covenant has failed. They are tests to see if you will reign from within. The throne of David was not just under threat in the psalm, it was seemingly overthrown, yet the psalmist never stops singing. Why? Because he knows the secret. The covenant was never external to begin with. So what does it mean for you right now to enter into this eternal covenant? It means you must stop looking outward for confirmation and start looking inward for alignment. It means you must sing, speak, affirm, imagine, declare the mercies of the Lord, not based on how you feel or what you see, but based on what you know is eternally true. His love is not fragile. His promise is not weak. But it requires your agreement. This is not mental trickery or positive thinking. This is spiritual law. You do not manifest the promise by force, but by union. You become one with the word through imagination, belief, and surrender. The throne becomes active in your life when you assume your identity as the chosen one. And how do you know you've assumed it? When your words, your thoughts, your prayers, and your expectations all rise to the level of the covenant. To sing of his love forever is not just to celebrate, it is to co-create. You are shaping reality every time you dare to believe in the face of contradiction. You are establishing the throne every time you reject fear and choose faith. You are fulfilling the covenant every time you speak what God has said instead of what man sees. And in doing so, you do what David did. You become the vessel through which divine royalty touches earth. This covenant is eternal because it does not depend on time. It exists in the now. The question is not whether God will be faithful. The question is whether you will believe he already is. The throne is already established. The line is already secured, the promise is already sealed, and your imagination is the door through which it becomes visible. So today, let every thought be a song, let every word be praise, let every inner picture be painted with divine love. Refuse to dwell in fear, worry, or doubt. They are thieves that seek to dethrone you. Instead, stand firm in your inner temple. Declare again with full conviction, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. Because forever is not tomorrow, it is right now. The covenant is alive, the throne is within, and the song is yours to sing. Love is the creative force of reality. The words of Psalm 89 echo through eternity, not simply because they are beautiful, but because they are rooted in spiritual law. When the psalmist says, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever, he is not merely expressing gratitude, he is accessing the creative power that shapes worlds. That power is love, not love as sentiment or emotion, but love as divine substance, the invisible essence that forms all things. Everything seen springs forth from this unseen realm, and the highest frequency in that invisible realm, the one that holds all things together, is love. Love is not weak, it is not passive, it is not optional. Love is law. The creative force of God is love, and wherever that love is embraced, acknowledged, and lived from, the invisible becomes visible. This is why the psalmist chooses to sing not because everything is perfect around him, but because he knows that in lifting his awareness to love, he becomes a vessel of creation. His song is not a reaction, it is a declaration of alignment. When you align with divine love, you align with the power that shapes reality. The true love of God, the steadfast love declared in Psalm 89, is not subject to change or mood. It is not withdrawn when you stumble, nor is it increased when you perform well. It is eternal, fixed, immovable. It is the very nature of God, and therefore it is the substance of all that exists. Everything that is born of the Spirit is born through love. Even the correction of God, even his delays and seeming denials, are expressions of love. They refine the vessel to hold the promise. This love is not outside of you. It is within you, waiting to be awakened. You cannot separate yourself from it, though you may remain unaware of it. The moment you become conscious of it, the moment you accept that you are loved, chosen, and supported by a power greater than the world, you begin to create from a different place. You no longer live by effort alone, but by agreement. You no longer strive for validation, because love has already validated you. To sing of his love forever is to say, I choose to dwell in the atmosphere of creation. I choose to align with the nature of God. I choose to live in harmony with the frequency that makes all things new. It is not naive to love. It is not weak to bless. It is the highest wisdom. It is the method by which heaven invades earth. Psalm 89 is filled with language about God's faithfulness, his power over the seas, his rule over the heavens. These are not just poetic flourishes, they are reminders the same power that governs the universe lives in you, and the bridge between that power and your reality is love, not earned love, not transactional love, not religious duty, but pure, unconditional, unshakable love, the love that says, I have made a covenant with you, and I will not break it. When you believe in that love, something changes. You stop praying as a beggar. You stop visualizing your future as if it is out of reach. You stop thinking like a servant, and you begin to think like a son or daughter of the Most High. Love gives you boldness. Love casts out fear. Love anchors you in the middle of delay, because it knows that the delay is not denial, it is design. Love sees from the end, not from the middle. It believes the promise even in the prison, and in doing so, it begins to call forth the very reality it trusts. Think of the many who wander through life trying to manifest success, relationships, healing, or peace without understanding the true engine behind creation. They try to manipulate effects without touching the cause. But the cause is always love. If you do not create from love, you are building a house on sand. It may stand for a moment, but it cannot endure. Only what is born of love will last. Only what is imagined in love, believed in love, and spoken in love will truly bring life. This is why the psalmist dares to keep singing even when the world around him seems to crumble, because he knows that love never fails. It may be hidden for a moment, but it will break through. He may feel abandoned temporarily, but the covenant of love cannot be erased. This confidence is not based on outward evidence, but inward knowing, and that is what makes it creative. It generates reality from within. When you truly know you are loved, you begin to speak differently. You no longer pray from panic, you pray from possession. You no longer affirm from lack, you affirm from abundance. Your words carry authority, not because you're trying to make something happen, but because you know it already has. Love says, it is done. And when you agree with love, you agree with creation itself. Even correction is love in disguise. When your plans fall apart, when your expectations are disappointed, love is not absent, it is working a deeper healing. It is not withholding, it is preparing. There are things you have prayed for that you have not yet received, not because you are unworthy, but because love is waiting until you are ready to sustain what you've asked for. Do not curse the delay, do not assume rejection. Ask yourself instead, am I rooted in love? For if you are, you will receive in due time, and your blessing will not break you. And here is the final secret. Love is not only what God gives, it is who you are. You were created in love for love by love. When you live from that identity, you become a channel for heaven to touch earth. You speak with power, walk with confidence, and manifest with ease not because of techniques, but because of union. Your imagination becomes fertile, your words become seed, and your heart becomes a garden where promises bloom. So today, make this your song. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever, not just when things are going well. Not just when prayers are answered, but forever because love is forever. Let your entire being sing your thoughts, your emotions, your expectations. Let love be your home, your lens, your foundation. Let every desire be shaped in love, and it will take form in power, because love is not a feeling. Love is the force that formed the stars, and it lives in you. The covenant appears to delay, but it never fails. There is perhaps no greater test of spiritual maturity than delay. It stretches your faith, challenges your emotions, and reveals your foundation. It is in the season of waiting that many forget what they once believed so boldly, but Psalm 89 reminds us of a divine truth. What appears to be delayed is not denied. The covenant may seem slow, but it can never fail. Delay is a veil, not a verdict. It hides the process, not the promise. The psalmist proclaims, I have made a covenant with my chosen. I have sworn to David my servant. I will establish your seed forever. This is the eternal voice of God speaking, firm, unwavering, absolute, and yet later in the psalm the same writer cries out in confusion, lamenting the collapse of the very throne God had sworn to establish. This tension between promise and appearance is the furnace in which faith is refined. The soul must decide whether to trust what it sees or what it knows. This covenant, the divine agreement, is not based on human effort or timing. It is rooted in divine intention, and it unfolds according to divine wisdom. When you enter into awareness of the covenant, you are not entering a deal that might work if you're good enough. You are stepping into an unbreakable, invisible structure that governs your spiritual identity. The covenant was spoken from eternity, and therefore cannot be undone by time. No matter what unfolds around you, the covenant stands. But here is the mystery. The covenant rarely arrives on your schedule. And this is not because it is slow, but because it is deep. What you call delay is often a deeper preparation. A promise given prematurely can crush you. A throne without the character to carry it becomes a burden, not a blessing. So the appearance of delay is grace in disguise. It protects you while shaping you. It refines your imagination until it can hold what has been promised. When you feel the tension between what God has said and what you currently see, do not assume abandonment. Instead, look inward and ask, what part of me is still being prepared to carry this covenant? Because the promise is not just about receiving something, it is about becoming someone. God doesn't just give thrones to the anointed, he forms kings and queens through the process. You are being shaped by what you cannot yet see, and the longer it takes, the deeper the work. The mind, trained by the world, wants immediacy. It equates speed with power, but spiritual power is never in haste. It is eternal, patient, and precise. Your job is not to rush the covenant, but to rest in it. Rest is the proof of faith. When you believe the promise cannot fail, you stop striving, you stop begging, you stop panicking, you start living from the end, because you know the end is certain. The delay does not shake you. It anchors you deeper into truth. Psalm 89 teaches you to sing while you wait. This is the real test of covenant consciousness. Can you praise before you see? Can you declare victory while still surrounded by evidence of defeat? That is not denial, it is dominion. You are not ignoring the facts, you are overriding them with truth. You are declaring that the promise is greater than the appearance, and the covenant is greater than the contradiction. You must understand that all great manifestations come with resistance, not because God is withholding, but because your old nature is being dismantled to make room for the new. The delay burns away doubt. It purifies the vision. It strips away dependency on appearances. It matures your imagination. When you are finally ready, when your inner world matches the glory of the promise, the covenant bursts forth, and what was hidden becomes visible. Many have walked away in the middle of delay, declaring that the promise was a lie, but they did not wait long enough to see the full story. They judged God by time instead of truth. Do not make that mistake. The covenant is never late. It is always on time according to divine design. What looks like silence is not absence. It is sacred stillness. It is the silence between seed and fruit, between conception and birth. Remember, the throne of David looked lost. The kingdom appeared broken. The line seemed cut off, but the covenant said otherwise. Generations later, from that same lineage, Christ emerged, the fulfillment hidden in time. The world said the promise was forgotten. Heaven knew it was being fulfilled in secret. What you call waiting is actually weaving. God is weaving the seen and unseen into perfect alignment, and your job is to trust the tapestry even when you can only see one thread. Imagination plays a vital role here. The covenant must not only be believed intellectually, it must be felt inwardly. You must feel its reality before it shows up. Delay invites you to see with the inner eye. While others panic, you imagine. While others quit, you persist. While others speak defeat, you declare fulfillment. Your inner world becomes the birthplace of the promise, and when your soul fully accepts that the covenant cannot fail, life must rearrange itself to reflect that truth. Do not let delay define you. Let it develop you. The covenant has not changed. The promise has not weakened. What God has declared over your life still stands. Heaven is not nervous. Creation is not confused. Everything is waiting for your agreement. When you agree with the covenant, even in the delay, you pull the future into the present. The energy of your conviction reshapes time. What was far begins to draw near. So today, do not despair if the throne still looks empty. Do not panic if the answer hasn't come. Instead, affirm with boldness, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. Because this song is not based on your mood. It is based on divine memory. The covenant was spoken long before your need appeared. It was established before your problem arose. And if it was true then, it is true now. Be still and know. Sing and believe. Wait with joyful expectation, because the covenant, though it appears to delay, will never fail. Every word spoken by the Most High must come to pass. Every vision aligned with divine love must take form. Every promise made from the eternal realm must pierce the veil of time, and when it does, you will see that the delay was not a punishment. It was a preparation for the fullness of what's coming. Singing of his love is the key to break through. There is a profound mystery hidden in plain sight, an ancient secret that has echoed through the lives of all who have walked with divine assurance. It is the understanding that breakthrough is not the result of effort alone, nor of perfect conditions, but of alignment. The soul that aligns itself with divine love becomes a magnet for transformation. And the key to this alignment is simple yet supernatural, singing of his love. Not just metaphorically, not just occasionally, but consistently, reverently, joyfully. Psalm 89 reveals this mystery when it opens with the bold declaration, I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. That is not casual worship. It is divine creation in motion. To sing of his love is to shift your state. It is to move out of fear into faith, out of anxiety into assurance. Singing is not merely a vocal act. It is a spiritual signal. It tells your inner world to rise. It tells your imagination to awaken. It tells your body to relax into divine rhythm. And more than anything, it tells the invisible forces of life that you are no longer pleading, you are praising. You are not begging for change, you are affirming it as already done. Breakthroughs are not miracles that visit the lucky. They are inevitable outcomes when one lives from the state of victory. And singing is the bridge between where you are and where you desire to be. It places you in the frequency of the answered prayer. When you sing of God's love, you are not reminding him of who he is. You are reminding yourself of who you are. You are reprogramming the atmosphere around you. You are training your imagination to see past the facts and feel the truth. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual science. Your state of being determines your reality. If you live in complaint, you produce delay. If you live in fear, you create resistance. But when you sing, truly sing from your spirit, you bypass resistance, you override doubt, you flood the unseen with agreement. Every note of gratitude, every word of worship becomes a seed of manifestation. And what is planted in joy will never produce despair. Consider this, Psalm 89 was not written in a time of peace. It was sung in tension, declared in contradiction. The throne appeared lost, the promise looked broken. Yet the psalmist chose to sing. Why? because he understood that the environment of the spirit is not determined by outward events, but by inner dominion. The world said collapse, but his heart said covenant, and so he sang, not because of what he saw, but because of what he knew. This is the key. You must sing before the evidence arrives. The sound of praise is the sound of prophecy. When you sing of his love, you are not just saying God is good. You are declaring, I trust the goodness even when I can't see it. I trust the outcome even in the silence. I trust the love even in the delay. That declaration becomes an act of spiritual warfare. It disrupts darkness. It unsettles the patterns of fear. It breaks through the crust of disbelief and pulls light into the room. You may not see the shift immediately, but within you the gears are turning. Your entire state begins to recalibrate to heaven's rhythm. Breakthrough is not an event that happens to you. It is a state you step into. It happens the moment your inner world agrees with divine reality, and singing is one of the fastest paths to that agreement. It doesn't matter how things look. When you begin to sing of the Lord's love, your soul lifts, your perception shifts. You begin to see the end, not the obstacle. You begin to feel the promise, not the pressure. This is why singing must not be reserved for Sunday mornings or mountaintop moments. It must become your daily language, your regular rhythm. Every time you sing of his love, you reinforce the truth. You are not abandoned, you are appointed. You are not forsaken, you are favored. You may feel buried, but you are being planted for resurrection, and your song becomes the water that awakens the seed. What happens when you don't feel like singing? That is when it matters most, because your breakthrough is not emotional, it is spiritual. When you don't feel the joy but you sing anyway, you declare that your faith rules your feelings, and the moment faith leads, the atmosphere must follow. Remember, feelings are followers, not leaders. If you wait until you feel grateful to sing, you will miss your moment. But if you sing before the emotion comes, the emotion will rise to meet the song. Many wait for the evidence of victory before they celebrate, but in the spiritual realm, celebration causes the victory. The child of God does not sing because the battle is over. They sing because they know the outcome has already been decided. When you sing in alignment with God's love, you collapse the time between the promise and the fulfillment. You tell the world, I'm no longer waiting, I'm witnessing. There is a reason why Paul and Silas sang in prison. They understood a higher law. Physical chains may bind the body, but praise unlocks the soul, and when the soul rises, the walls must fall. They didn't wait for the doors to open. They opened them with worship. And so can you. Your prison is not permanent. Your delay is not denial. Your song is your key. Use it. There is no problem so great that it can withstand sustained praise, not because praise manipulates God, but because praise aligns you with him. It raises you to the level where solutions live. It lifts you out of the muck of fear into the clarity of divine vision. It reminds you that your source is not the economy, the relationship, the diagnosis. It is the unchanging love of God. And his love is more than emotion, it is power. So sing, not once, not twice, but until your mind is convinced, until your body feels the shift, until the walls begin to tremble, until the breakthrough that was hovering becomes undeniable. Sing when the report is bad, sing when the night is long, sing when the tears come, because your song is not weakness. It is warfare, it is not distraction. It is direction. You are telling the spirit realm, I know who I am, I know what has been spoken, and I will not be moved. Sing of his love forever, because forever isn't just eternity. It's every moment you choose to live in agreement with truth. Breakthrough isn't a mystery for the few, it's the inheritance of the faithful. And faith expresses itself most powerfully in praise. When you sing, you open the floodgates of fulfillment, not because you are trying to get something, but because you have already received it inwardly. And when your inner world has received, your outer world must follow. That is the law. That is the power of singing of his love. That is your key to breakthrough. Psalm 89 reading, I will sing of his love forever.